The war in Ukraine has become a laboratory for the future of combat, a brutal, real-time experiment where tactics evolve not over years, but hours. It is a conflict defined by eyes in the sky, where the buzz of a consumer-grade drone is often the last sound a soldier hears. In this new art of war, victory is no longer solely about massing force, but about massing information, patience, and the precise, orchestrated application of violence. Nowhere was this terrifying new paradigm more vividly demonstrated than in the fields near the Donetsk village of Robotine in the late summer of 2023, where a Ukrainian intelligence unit known as the Ghosts of Kiev waited with inhuman patience to spring a trap that would redefine the battlefield. For weeks, the Russian 72nd Separate Motor Rifle Brigade, a hardened unit bolstered by modernized T-90M tanks and BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles, had been a relentless pressure point against the Ukrainian lines. They were the tip of the spear in a brutal counteroffensive push designed to reclaim the initiative lost to Ukraine's own summer campaign. The 72nd was confident, almost arrogant. Their attacks were methodical, predictable, and heavy. They would assemble in a wooded tree line a few kilometers behind the front, a place their commanders deemed safe from all but the most indiscriminate Ukrainian artillery. From this staging area, they would advance in a powerful, concentrated column, along a single dirt road, a path they had used repeatedly, churned now into a morass of mud and tracks. They believed they were hidden. They were wrong. The architects of the trap, the Ghosts of Kiev, were not a mythical ace pilot, but something far more potent in the 21st century. A fusion of battlefield intelligence analysts, drone operators, electronic warfare specialists, and artillery coordinators. Their command post was not a bunker with maps and pushpins, but a van humming with servers, live satellite feeds, and a bank of monitors displaying real-time video from a constellation of drones loitering silently. At high altitude, their weapon was not a rifle, but data. For days, they had watched the 72nd Brigade. They logged its routines, its assembly times, the exact routes its columns took, the intervals between vehicles, even the spots where commanders' vehicles typically positioned themselves. They built a digital twin of the brigade's behavior, and in that model, they found a perfect, repeating vulnerability. The trap was simple in concept, fiendishly complex in execution. It was not designed to harass or slow down the 72nd. It was designed to annihilate it in a single, devastating blow. The plan, codenamed Operation Sickle, relied on a multi-layered drone storm, a synchronized swarm of unmanned systems, each with a specific, lethal role. But the key was timing. They had to wait for the entire brigade to be fully committed to the narrow avenue of approach, with no room to turn back and minimal room to disperse. They needed the perfect prey, and they needed it to walk willingly into the perfect kill zone. The white dawn broke on September 12, 2023, with a heavy, low-hanging mist clinging to the fields of Zaporizhia. In the Ghosts' command van, the air was thick with coffee and tension. The intelligence intercepts had been clear. The 72nd was preparing for another major push. High-altitude Bayraktar TB2 drones, invisible and inaudible from the ground, had already captured thermal signatures of tanks and IFVs moving into the familiar wooded staging area. The lead planner, a young major who went by the call sign Professor, watched the feeds. "They're taking the bait," he murmured, his face illuminated by the cool blue light of the screen. "All elements, stand by. Operation Sickle is active. Wait for my mark." The waiting was the most agonizing part. They watched as the first T-90M, its turret scanning slowly, nosed out of the tree line and onto the dirt track. Then another. Then a BMP-3. The column was forming. A command vehicle identifiable by its extra antennas slotted into the middle. Fuel trucks and ammunition carriers brought up the rear, a testament to the Russians' confidence in this secure route. Minutes ticked by. The column grew to its full length, nearly 24 armored vehicles and support elements, a serpent, of steel stretching over a kilometer. It began to crawl forward, moving into the open low-lying fields between the woods and the Ukrainian forward positions. They were completely exposed, but from within their armored shells, the Russian soldiers felt a sense of impending action, not impending doom. In the van, the professor's hand hovered over a comms switch. He was waiting for the lead vehicle to hit a specific pre-marked point in the road, a slight bend where the drainage ditches on either side were deepest, making it impossible for the heavy vehicles to escape off the path. The entire kill zone had been pre-registered by every artillery unit within range. The drones were in position. The trap was set. All stations, this is Ghost Lead. The professor's voice was calm, eerily devoid of emotion. The package is delivered. I say again, the package is delivered. Execute, execute, execute. The storm breaks. Phase 1. The crippling blow. The first sound was not an explosion, but a high-pitched, whining buzz that seemed to come from everywhere at once. From hidden positions in the Ukrainian rear, a first wave of FPV, first-person view drones, shot into the sky. These were not the slow, observational birds that both sides had become accustomed to. These were purpose-built kamikaze systems, flying at over 100 kph, their operators wearing VR-like goggles that gave them a drone's eye view of the target. Their orders were specific: disable the lead and rear vehicles. 2 drones screamed down, almost simultaneously. The first struck the lead T-90M, not on its thick frontal armor, but on its thinner rear deck, precisely where the engine compartment and cooling systems were located. The shaped charge of the warhead punched through and the tank shuddered to a halt, black smoke pouring from its hatches. The second drone hit the last vehicle in the column, a fuel truck, turning it into a towering fireball that lit up the morning mist and blocked the route of retreat. In a matter of seconds, the serpent had been decapitated and its tail severed. The Russian column was trapped, bottled up on a narrow road with burning wrecks at both ends. Confusion reigned. Vehicle commanders scrambled out of hatches, trying to understand what was happening. The predictable artillery barrage they expected didn't come. Instead, the buzzing intensified. Phase 2. The hunter-killers. This was the core of the drone storm. Dozens, then scores of FPV drones descended upon the stalled column. They were the Wasps, each with a specific target assigned by controllers in the Ghost's van. The chaos on the Russian radio frequencies was overwhelming, jammed by Ukrainian electronic warfare systems that flooded their frequencies with noise, cutting the vehicles off from each other and from their command. The drones weaved and danced, their operators expertly guiding them. One slammed into the open hatch of a BMP-3, its explosion triggering secondary blasts as the vehicle's ammunition cooked off. Another targeted a T-90M's turret ring, a vulnerable spot that could jam the main gun and effectively neuter the beast. A third expertly flew into the open rear ramp of an infantry carrier that had disgorged its panicked soldiers, destroying it and the supplies within. The Russian soldiers, trained to fight an enemy they could see, were helpless. They fired small arms wildly into the air, a futile gesture against small, fast-moving targets. They activated their vehicle-mounted anti-drone jammers, but the Ukrainians had adapted. The drone swarm used a mix of frequencies and autonomous guidance in the final seconds of flight, overwhelming the Russian electronic protection. The scene was one of surreal horror. The cacophony of explosions, machine gun fire, and the incessant, omnipresent buzzing was deafening. Thick, acrid smoke from burning rubber, metal, and flesh blanketed the column. Men scrambled into the muddy ditches only to find themselves targeted by smaller grenade-dropping quadcopters that hovered like vultures.